Hey guys, this is Mahabalipuram in India, and let's take a look at this unexplainable rock structure called Bhima stove. Locals believe that it was built by a giant who was more than 12 feet tall, and I will show you some solid evidence that it was in fact built by a giant. But first, let's see if this structure could have been built by humans at all. The specialty of this structure is that the rock on the left, which weighs a massive 1700 tons, has been lifted and made to lean on a relatively smaller rock on the right. Archaeologists and geologists agree that this is not a natural formation but was constructed at least 1200 years ago. But how could ancient human beings lift a rock that weighs 1700 tons? It is a massive 47 feet long and 22 feet wide, and you can see human beings walking through this artificial cave-like structure. 1700 tons is a whopping 3 million pounds or 1.5 million kilograms. Scientists calculate that an average human being can lift about 200 pounds. Using this math, more than 16,000 men should have worked around this rock to lift it. But how do you put 16,000 men around a rock that is only 47 feet long? Even in modern days, lifting such a heavy rock would be very hard and can be possible only with the help of complex machinery like cranes. Even the regular cranes we use today can lift around 20 tons, and 85 cranes should work together to lift this rock. Some historians claim that elephants were used to lift this rock. This is also impossible because an elephant can push or pull 6 tons, which means that 280 elephants would have to be used together around a 47 feet rock. Since archaeologists cannot explain how it was constructed, is there any other explanation for this megalithic construction? And more importantly, why do the locals call it Bhima's stove? Bhima is portrayed as a giant who was over 12 feet tall and appears in the Hindu epic of Mahabharata written around 500 BC. Bhima fits the classic description of a Nephilim mentioned in the Bible because he was born to a human mother and his father was a god. Locals believe that this was the place where Bhima met the Nagas, who were a reptilian race. During this meeting, the reptilian gods gave him a potion which made him get the strength of 8,000 elephants. Locals say that to test this newly acquired strength, Bhima put these massive rocks together and performed a strange ritual. Legend says that after putting these giant rocks together, he placed this shiny disc-like rock inside and set it on fire. And on top of this structure, he placed a large metallic object and performed some kind of an experiment. Since the entire setup resembles an early cooking method, it came to be known as Bhima's stove. On the inner walls of the structure, you can still see traces of black soot, confirming that a large fire was created inside. Is this just a local legend concocted by a bunch of primitive minds, or is there any evidence of such a meeting between Bhima and the reptilian gods? In the Hindu epic Mahabharata, such a meeting is in fact documented where Bhima meets the reptilian king. It is also recorded that he drank a reptilian tonic which gave him enormous physical strength. Is this just mythology, or could this have actually happened here? If such a meeting really happened here, is there any evidence to support that the reptilian kingdom was also located here? About 500 yards from Bhima stove, India's largest relief shows the emergence of Nagas from underground. It is so big that it is still the second largest relief in the world. Was Mahabalipuram once ruled by a reptilian race of gods? Is that why we can see evidence of ancient drilling, a rocket, and other enigmatic structures? If it is true that giants or Nephilims once existed among ancient Hindus, shouldn't archaeologists have unearthed at least a few giant skeletons in India? After all, the Hindu epic Mahabharata says that Bhima had at least 3 wives and fathered many children. On 5th February 2013, a giant skeleton which was 7.5 feet tall was excavated in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Archaeologists quickly moved this enormous skeleton to a secret location, and this remarkable discovery was never published in the media. However, archaeologists accidentally told the media about this giant skeleton when a normal-sized skeleton was discovered a month later. There are many hoaxes about Nephilim skeletons, but this is a genuine piece that was published in a newspaper called The Telegraph, which has more than 1 million readers. Remember, the average height of an Indian male is 5.5 feet, so a 7.5 feet tall skeleton would have been a spectacular finding. So why don't Indian archaeologists tell the media when such giant skeletons are discovered? Officials say that such sensational news quickly spreads and thousands of people would gather and looters would ransack the entire place. In fact, such an incident happened just a few months ago in Meerut, Uttar Pradesh. Intriguingly, the 2,500-year-old scripture Mahabharata says that Bhima lived in a city called Hastinapur, which is now located in the district of Meerut. On August 8, 2014, a skeleton was accidentally discovered by miners. Locals say that this skeleton was over 15 feet tall and was covered with metal ornaments and had a crown on its head. Word quickly spread that Bhima's skeleton was found, and before the police could reach the site, looters had taken away the giant skeleton and the ornaments, leaving just a few fragments behind. Is it possible that this was the skeleton of Bhima or one of his descendants? Is this enough evidence that giants were not just mythical figures but were in fact real? If Bhima did construct this gigantic structure in Mahabalipuram, what happened after that? Locals claim that Bhima wandered around for a few days and tested if this potion's effect was permanent by stomping on a rock and created a footprint. If this is true, can we find this giant footprint somewhere near Mahabalipuram? In a small village called Lepakshi in the state of Andhra Pradesh, we can find a giant footprint. Could this be Bhima's footprint? The locals here claim that it is not the footprint of Bhima, but belongs to his half-brother Hanuman, who also happens to be a giant. This footprint is more than 4 feet long, and if it is real, the giant who made this impression would be over 30 feet tall. Is there any other giant footprint that locals agree that it is Bhima's footprint? About 200 miles from Bhima's stove in the outskirts of Bangalore, there is yet another footprint called Bhimana Hedge. This footprint is about 2.5 feet long, and the giant who made this impression would be over 18 feet tall. The local people of Bangalore believe that Bhima did in fact leave this footprint. Remember, these quote-unquote local legends from various places of India are separated by hundreds of miles, and these people even speak different languages. Yet, all these disconnected pieces miraculously fit and match with the ancient Hindu scriptures. If a giant really built this huge megalithic structure, shouldn't there be other examples of gigantic structures in the world, also built by giants? Here is the well-known Stonehenge in England, built around 2600 BC. In a book called Roman de Brute, written in 1150 AD, it is clearly documented that the Stonehenge was also built by giants. Why do both these megalithic structures, separated by thousands of miles, share the same story? Remember, both these sites have used humongous rocks that would be impossible to be lifted by ancient human beings. Are ancient texts mere mythologies, or are they documents showing actual events? Was Bhima a real giant who walked the earth? What do you think? Please do let me know your opinion in the comment section. I'm finding a lot of intriguing stuff like this, so please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and talk to you soon.